It is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes. If so, these charges will be entirely false based on lies. If I'm charged, I know I am innocent. I will request an immediate trials so the New Yorkers can hear the truth. Now, if I am charged, many may say I should resign because I cannot manage the city while fighting the case. I can also understand how everyday New Yorkers will be concerned that I cannot do my job while I face accusation. But I have been facing these lies for months since I began to speak out for all of you and their investigation started. Yet the city has continued to improve. Make no mistake, you elected me to lead this city, and lead it I will. It is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes.
Eric Adams, the embattled mayor of New York City, now the indicted mayor of New York City, the first New York City mayor in history to be indicted on criminal charges. Listen, first, I'm going to say this because let's get this out the way. This idea from MAGA and everybody else that Biden and Harris's Justice Department attacked a Republican, Trump, and is going after Republicans is ludicrous. This is a Democrat. And the Southern District of New York is in New York City. Eric Adams has been indicted. Charges will formally be announced today, although multiple folks say that he is not expected to have to turn himself in today. They will work with the mayor on a surrender date and he will be processed. Will he be held? No, the mayor is not going to be held and bound over until trial. However, the charges appear, and we'll know later, appear to be related to some finances and work he's done in places like Turkey and other places overseas, allegedly. But he, according to numerous people, the indictment is probably going to lead to him either resigning or being removed. In New York, the governor, in this case, Kathy Hochul, has the authority to remove a mayor who has been criminally charged. And Kathy Hochul's office right now said that they are not commenting. But this has been, we've talked about this on this program before with Mayor Adams. He was approached by the FBI some time ago. His cell phone was confiscated. Some other electronics were confiscated. And then the dominoes began to really fall from the police commissioner to the fire commissioner to the retired fire chief to the school's chancellor to the deputy mayor. Everyone is or have been investigated to this point. There's been indictments, and now the big fish, Mayor Adams, who was elected as the city's 110th mayor about 3 years ago on a campaign pledge of reducing crime and bringing professionalism and, quote, swagger to the latest municipal government in the country. But the mayor staffed top positions with friends and people loyal to him. And this is where a lot of people do go wrong, unfortunately. You give your friends a job. You give people who, it's one thing to be loyal. It's a good thing to be loyal, but not when you're doing wrong. You need someone, when you're in a position like Mayor Adams, when you're in a position like when you talk about celebrities, you definitely need somebody to give you a reality check. And Mayor Adams, according to many people, only hired people who would say, "You're doing great, Mayor. You're doing good. You look good." This is no commentary on the mayor's innocence or guilt. I have no idea. But it seems bizarre that this a mayor is going to be making deals with another government, a foreign government, campaign deals at that, allegedly. I see what Power 96 says. The feds told Adams, light skin, dark skin, you're still black, is what he says in other words. But this is some serious stuff. Police commissioner, we mentioned, and the school's chancellor, the commissioner Caban and the chancellor David Banks, they both resigned, recently resigned. And there's so many questions. And the mayor, again, he said, regardless of calls, he knows they're going to get those calls to resign. We know that, in fact, before the indictment, we were planning this morning to talk about those who have called on him to resign, like AOC. And of course, those who are running for mayor against him next year are calling for him to resign, but that you have to dismiss out of hand. What else do you expect out of them? Certainly, they'd like to get him out of the way. And so the mayor is under indictment. We'll know the charges later today, but we know that this has been in the works since November, when they, at least since November of last year. So it's almost a year's investigation that we know of, because that's when they ran up on him. I like to say ran up on the mayor and seized his phone and other electronics. He was in a car. He was coming from Washington, D.C., in fact. I remember it well. And the question becomes, why run up on the mayor like that? It sort of reminds, what happened more recently with Trayon White in Washington, D.C. reminded me of the Eric Adams situation, but even in a more serious way, because when the feds rolled up on Trayon, they took him down in the street, took him away, left his car right there. But the mayor is under indictment. The city, some argue, as he would, that the city is doing well, that he's done a good job, and others say, oh no. He's a former police detective and captain himself. But I tell you what, he is maintaining his innocence. He's steadfastly maintaining it in ways that we don't normally see. We see individuals say things of, we'll see about this in court, or something other than the forceful way in which Mayor Adams has proclaimed that he is innocent. And the man says, let's go to trial right away. And he has that right. He has that right to force a trial immediately. Speedy trial. That's his constitutional right to a speedy trial. And he, unless it's just talk, big talk, in the immediate aftermath of the indictment, Adams says, let's do it. Show me what you got. Show me what you're working with. That's what he's saying. Power 96 is black men. Let's get together. Let's get it together, he says. First, Mark Robinson. Now, you know better, Power 96. You cannot put Mark Robinson in this conversation. You can't put him in this conversation. Mark Robinson is a walking disgrace. As someone I know well, I'll use their terminology, a waste of space. But not good news for not only Mayor Adams, but the entire city of New York. It's my city. Love my city. But Mayor Adams is under indictment. Now, we had Lauren on yesterday, and Lauren has been texting with us all night. about this situation. And she also points out something that was interesting. Back in 2016, Terry McAuliffe, the Virginia governor, was investigated by the DOJ as well. Nothing ever came of it, right? At that time, anyway. So you can't rush to judgment. In other words, I guess that is part of what Lauren was her point. Don't rush to judgment. And it's a fair point. Very much a fair point. It was about campaign contributions, and this seems to be tied to the mayor's campaign as well, but from a foreign entity. So we will we will see. Power 96 is laughing. Yeah, but it's true. Don't be putting. I don't care what Adams may or may not have done. Don't, I'm not an Adams fan, but I certainly don't think that he warrants being cursed at like that, calling him, putting him in the same sentence as Mark Robinson. Also, this morning, wanted to bring this too because Republicans are going full MAGA, full racism, full off the reservation, and they overt racist attack against Haitians and Haitian immigrants. Representative Clay Higgins of Louisiana called Haiti the, quote, nastiest country in the Western Hemisphere in a post on social media yesterday. He said migrants from the Caribbean nation, the majority of whom are in the U.S. legally, should get their butts out of our country. He just went on this rant on Twitter. Then he deleted it. But it came in response to an Associated Press story on a Haitian nonprofit that filed a citizen criminal complaint against former President Donald Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance. The criminal complaint was about their repeated baseless claims about migrants in Springfield, Ohio, including Trump's assertion at the presidential debate that they were eating the dogs and eating the cats. Well, Clay Higgins' post amplified that lie. And then we had all these bomb threats. And so then he goes on the post, LOL, these Haitians are wild, eating pets, voodoo, nastiest country in the Western Hemisphere, cults, slapstick gangsters. He says, but damned if they don't feel all sophisticated now, filing charges against our president and VP, he said. Then he goes on to say, all these thugs better get their mind right and get their butts out of our country before January 20th. January 20th, of course, is the inauguration. It's just incredible. CBC chair Stephen Horsford went after them for his comments. Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House, also took Higgins to task. You got to understand that, again, this is all Project 2025 and how bad things are going to be if Project 2025 comes into play. This is the tip, the very tip of the iceberg. And you remember back in 2016, 17, whenever it was, when Trump was in office, he referred to Haiti as one of the countries he referred to as the so-called, S-hole countries. And so the rhetoric, this is why when we have these discussions about, and Lauren talked about this yesterday too, we've talked about this about so-called Black folks voting or supporting Trump, it's hard to believe, no matter what your political leanings might be, that you would support that you would support that type of, particularly giving our Black folks' history in this country. It's just hard to imagine that. And yes, we do see the Byron Donalds of the world, and Tim Scotts of the world, the Mark Robinsons of the world, and the Clarence Thomases, and Candace Owens, and then you look at a Trump rally and you see an out of place Black spot. You do see that. You see the old man with the MAGA hat dancing the jig on the boat or wherever they were at. Because folks understand this, just like all other races of people, all other colors, not every person of color is educated, just like not every white person is educated. And just like white folks and other folks and Asian folks and whomever folks, you have those who are just going to do things that you just got to shake your head and move on, because otherwise you wind up choking them. so we know, in that sense we're not different. We can't expect us to be so different that we're not going to have a few loose cannons, if you will, a few knuckleheads. I mean, in slavery. But go back to slavery, you had a couple of those. So there you have it. Angela Connolly says, didn't they have a hearing yesterday on Project 2025? Glenn Kushner. Yes, Angela Connolly, they did. And so again, you got to keep that in mind. Project 20, this is all about. This is what Project 2025 is about, I should say. This is what it's about. Paradigm 6 says, Chuck D said it best, every brother ain't a brother. But you're going to get that. You're going to get that. And that's just the way it is. And so Clay Higgins and the rest, you can't be surprised. Can't be surprised. There are so many more. The silver lining, I'm not going to call it a good thing, but the silver lining in Trump's rise, political rise, has been this idea, or at least this revelation that people are free. They have become freer to show you who they are. I always said the difference, and it's going to anger some folks, but the difference, I lived in Los Angeles, born and raised, and lived majority of my life in New York. And I've always said one of the major differences between New York and Los Angeles. In New York, you know exactly where people stood. If they liked you, you knew it. If they didn't like you, you knew it. In Los Angeles, you had no clue. You had no clue. And so the silver lining in the rise of Donald Trump is that these politicians and others, of course, people in general, have felt more inclined to show you exactly who they are. Joe Manchin, for instance, we talked about him yesterday. Joe Manchin continues to show you who he is. And if there are Black folks who want to support Joe Manchin, hey, that's their prerogative. But understand what you're getting. He is showing you. And so it goes on and on and on. So a new study from Princeton University in partnership with Liberation Ventures offers a comprehensive look at public opinion on reparations in the United States. The 2024 Reparations Belief and Sentiments poll shows that 36% of Americans support comprehensive reparations, which include cash payments, and get this, an apology and an investment in Black communities. An additional 19% of the respondents are neutral on the issue, while 46% did express opposition. Um, it is still a shift. The findings do reflect a pretty significant shift too, because over the past 20 years or so, 20, almost 25 years, because in 2002, 14% supported cash reparations. And we know that across the country, 23 cities and states have established commissions over the past 5 years to study or implement reparations policies. And young people, according to the Princeton research, support reparations more than anyone else, with about 50% of individuals between the ages of 18 and 35 approving reparations. And of course, political leanings do play a role. 49% of Democrats and 23% of independents said a candidate's support for reparations would increase their likelihood of backing that candidate. 62% of Republicans said it would negatively impact their view of a candidate. So that's, again, reparations. It is one of those hot button issues. And it's something that it's even within certain factions who are people of color who fight about how reparations should look. Cheryl Brown continues to remind us, he reminded us yesterday, I didn't mention it, that Trump has campaigned in several sundown towns recently. Yeah, we know that that's what he is. Right, he's showing you better than he can tell you what he is. And listen, I've seen pro reparations groups be on the fence, say they're on the fence about who they're supporting, and leaning in a way toward this individual who, like you said, Cheryl, is campaigning in sundown towns, who has sparked and led, in many cases, such highly racially charged rhetoric. So it's an interesting look. It's an interesting look. Folks in the Southeast, you got to stay safe. Hurricane Helene is strengthening as it moves toward the U.S. Gulf Coast. It became yesterday a Category 1, and it is expected to slam Georgia and Florida and other Southeast states today. It's expected to intensify quickly and become a Category 3 or 4 storm by the time it makes landfall. So be careful out there. It's looking pretty devastating. This is a very strong building storm that is picking up in its intensity. So folks, be careful out there. The National Hurricane Center warned that it is a life-threatening situation, and so let's not fool around with this. Be careful if you're traveling. There are flights that are already been delayed, some even canceled. And so that storm is absolutely no joke. No joke at all. Well, Prince fans and those in the late icons world know well the tantalizing and the provocative dance moves and background vocals of Catherine Bernice Glover, recognized worldwide as Cat, the extraordinary dancer, choreographer, and singer who achieved legendary status through her collaborations with Prince, died yesterday at the age of 60, just 60 years old. Her death was announced via her official Facebook page, where a brief statement asked for privacy during what is definitely a difficult time for her family. Her career is inseparably linked to Prince, particularly during his creative peak in the late 80s. As a key figure in his band, she contributed her energy, talent, and unforgettable albums, two unforgettable albums like The Great Sign of the Times and Love Sexy. She actually shaped the visuals for those. So when you saw Prince posing for the Love Sexy album, when you saw the concert, if you saw the concert, particularly Sign of the Time, she did all of the choreography for what was then and still considered by many the greatest concert film ever, Sign of the Times. Extremely well done. I had some interactions with her myself. Um, we were social media buddies, and we would chat, not slide in the DMs, just chatting. Um, but she also was the vocalist, the rap vocalist on Alphabet Street, the song Alphabet Street. And but her influence was stressed beyond that. Cat Glover was born on July 23rd, 1964. And folks, if you remember, before American Idol and before all these other voice and singing competitions, there was a show called Star Search. And Kat made her debut on Star Search, where she was a finalist. She had won, what, 6 or 7 rounds before she lost in the finals. She said she had reached a depression. How she became a Prince fan was interesting. She said she was depressed, and she began listening to Prince's album Dirty Mind. And she said, I knew I had to meet him. She said that was her inner self talking. So with Star Search, she was a dance team, Pat and Cat, Patrick Allen. And they won, like I said, 7 victories. It was 2 perfect scores as well, but they all 3 lost in the finals. But that exposure helped her a lot, because after Star Search, she got 2 phone calls, 2 amazing phone calls. One was from David Bowie, and the other one was from Prince, both offering her jobs in their bands. She said she went with her musical hero, Prince. And everything else for Kat was history. So she was certainly a talent on that stage. I got to see a couple of the shows with her live, and they were electric. Prince and Kat, oftentimes it was Prince, Kat, and Sheila E. In the lead in these concerts, and they were absolutely electric. So Cat Glover has died at the age of 60, and really young, 60 years old. By any measure, should be considered young, too young to die anyway. Just briefly going back before we close on the hurricane, I like what the RNG says. He says, call your insurance provider, make sure your policy is up to date, fortify your home, gather all important documents, and then leave. And he says the Category 3 took out New Orleans and the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Now, I thought it was important to go back to Power 96's statement, because you're talking about somebody who lived it. Power 96 lives right there in Louisiana, and they are extremely, unfortunately, acclimated with this type of storm. So it would behoove those in that region, and we know we have viewers in that region. It would behoove them to do exactly that. And folks, always remember, I mean, you don't need me to tell you this, but um, people's lives are much more important than property. You can rebuild. New Orleans, we know that they're still rebuilding, but yet many have rebuilt. You can rebuild. What you can't do is replace a loved one. So don't take risks. Don't take unnecessary risks. This is a serious storm. The National Weather Service says that it is calling it a deadly storm, that lives could be lost. So pay attention. Let it be known to your friends, your family, those in that region, to take precaution. And folks, lend a helping hand to them as well. I mean, if you might find that you have a loved one who maybe circumstances, health or financial reasons may not be able to relocate even temporarily. Well, if you can, help them out. Help them out. We can all do this together, right? All in this together. So help them out. The storm is coming. We know it's coming. And that's always a beautiful thing, to be forewarned, because you're supposed to be, that's supposed to mean that you are forearmed. So let that be known as well. And let it be known that we appreciate you guys joining us. And we will bring you some more tomorrow on Friday. Maybe some really great entertainment stuff instead of somebody died. And we'll also keep tabs on this storm, as well as Mayor Adams's situation in New York. Thanks for joining us.